In this lesson, we'll learn how to save and export our artwork from Illustrator. Alright, so I've got here open the document we've been working on throughout this course, and let's say we need to save our document. Now this is a really important thing in Illustrator, and you really should probably have a good idea of how to save and even export your artwork out of Illustrator. So let's just talk about saving first. Now notice that we're using the 60_start file. Now if we had not saved this document previously and this was an untitled document, then we would need to come up and choose File, Save. Now the keyboard shortcut for that is Control S, and that's actually the same as several other applications. So I would encourage, committing that one to memory because it's going to be really helpful. So if we choose Save and we have not yet previously saved our document, we're going to get the Save As dialog box. If we have saved our document, we're just going to update the document that we've saved with any changes we've made since the last save. So let's go ahead and take a look here at the Save As dialog here. Let's go ahead and bring that up. Now the Save As dialog is going to basically allow us to browse to a location on our computer and save the file. Now we've got here our file name, and I want you to take note here of the different types of files that we can save from the Save As dialog. Now by default we're set to the Adobe Illustrator file type, which is a .ai file, but if we drop this little menu down here, you're going to see several different types of files. We have the FXG, the Illustrator, we have PDF, EPS, AIT, SVG, and SVGZ. So several of these, to be honest, you may or may not use very often. One that I use quite frequently is the Adobe PDF option, because if you're sending options to a printer, a lot of times they will prefer to work directly from a PDF file. So let's go ahead and select that one here. And notice that when we select that, we have the option here to include all of our artboards or just a range of artboards in this PDF file. So if we include all artboards, all 4 of our artboards in this document will actually be included as separate pages in our PDF file. If we choose to only include a range, we can specify 1, 2, 3, or even all 4 of them here, like we have it displayed in that little window, and the PDF will reflect only the pages that we specify here. Now we could separate those by columns, or by commas, we could put a dash in between. However you want to indicate those pages, you can type that in that little field right there. Now I'm not going to actually export a PDF. I'll include a PDF here in the project files in case you'd like to take a look at that. But from here, if you hit save on this file, we'll actually be prompted with the Adobe PDF options. So we're not going to get into all these PDF options. There is a lot of stuff here, and this really is beyond Adobe Illustrator. So we're going to go ahead and cancel this dialog right now, and let's talk a little bit about saving a copy of a file. Now right now again we're using the 60_start file. If we wanted to save a copy of this file, we could also come up here and choose Save a Copy. And again, we're going to be prompted with a dialog window, and this one's called Save a Copy. So essentially we're not going to be saving over the identical file or over the original file here. We're actually saving a copy, and you can see that the word copy has been included here in the file name by default. Now the rest of this dialog is going to function very similar to the Save As dialog window that we just looked at. We have really the same options here under the Save As type. Let's go ahead and just cancel this for right now. And if we look under this File drop-down menu, notice here that the next option is Save as Template. We've already actually talked about saving a template in Illustrator in a lesson much earlier in this course. So the other options are to save for web and devices and save selected slices. We're not actually going to cover those two in this course, but I tell you what I want to talk about with you is the option to export, because that is another way that we can take files out of Illustrator into other applications. So let's go ahead and say export right now, and let's take a look at the dialog that comes up. Now there is a whole different set of file types that we can export our Illustrator file as here in this dialog. Let me go ahead and just drop this down here, and we'll just take a look at some of these. There's actually quite a few. We have files here like a Flash file, JPEGs, even a Photoshop.psd file, Target, TIFF. So several different options here that we can export our Illustrator file as right from the Illustrator dialog here. Again, if we come down here and say select JPEG, notice we have the option to use artboards. If we don't check this option, we're just going to get the first artboard exported here. If we go ahead and select use artboards, we can select again all or range, and Illustrator will export separate JPEGs for each artboard in our document. So let's go ahead and cancel this for right now. Now, there's another important feature of saving an Illustrator document that you really should be aware of. Now, we're using Illustrator CS5 here, but let's say we're saving this file, but we want to send this file to somebody who has an earlier version of Illustrator so that they can open it. Now, it's important to understand that in order to do that, we need to save as a legacy file, or they're not going to have access to all the features in CS5 that we currently have. So let's go ahead and save a copy of this file. I'll just choose save a copy here. And let's go ahead and just call this one 60_copy. And let's go ahead and hit save here. Now we're going to get an Illustrator options box here, and there's several different options here, but what I want to direct your attention to is this version option right here. By default, we're set to Illustrator CS5, which is the current version that we're using. If we wanted to save this to a legacy version of Illustrator, we could just simply drop this down and choose how far back we want to save this. If the person you're sending this file to, maybe they only have Illustrator CS3, then you would select this Illustrator CS3 option right here. And you can see here we have options to save this backwards compatible all the way to Illustrator 3. So really we can save that backwards quite a ways. Now there's one other option here in this dialog that I want to show you that's actually pretty cool. This option is actually new for Illustrator CS5 to an extent. In Illustrator CS4, we had the option to save each artboard as a separate file, but only if we were saving to a legacy file where the previous version of Illustrator did not have the ability to do multiple artboards. Now in Illustrator CS5, we can actually save each artboard to a separate file for any version of Illustrator we save to. So we could even do this for CS5 just simply by checking this box. We could save all artboards, or we could save a range of artboards you can see here. So really great way to actually save each specific artboard as an individual Illustrator file. So let's go ahead and hit cancel on this. Alright, so in this lesson we've learned how to save and export our artwork right out of Illustrator. And that will about wrap it up for us. I hope you've enjoyed this series of lessons. I know that I have. You should be well equipped now to unleash your creativity on Illustrator and really create some truly amazing works of art.